When it comes to alignment and people, you will attract and be attracted to the people that you need, depending on where you are. Um, Sometimes it's not a really good thing, sometimes it's a great thing, but depending on where you are and where your path is taking you, people on that similar wavelength, that similar vibration, that similar experience, that same mind state will be there too with you. So if you don't like what you're finding, then you may not be aligned with what it is that you want. Sometimes we think that because we have the same goals, that we are meant to kind of, mesh with these people in our lives somehow. But that's not necessarily so. There's so many ways to get to an outcome. Okay, so there's one outcome, lots of different roads to get there. Look at religion, right? Like there's, the source, and God is, basically the umbrella of everything that we know. It's like all these ways of thinking, religions, and they all lead to God, right? They all lead to the source. They all lead to the greatness of the purpose of life. But they all are so different from one another. It's the same way when we meet people. Like you kind of, to me, I gauge more the journey with somebody. It's never that initial spark, because anybody can have a spark. I mean, but it dissipates really quickly when you have those quick sparks. And I've had them in my life. And when I try to, sometimes when you have this big spark and you're like, man, that person, that they make me feel amazing or whatever, that's really temporary and it's really fleeting. Because the most, to me, long-term, influential, like true substantial relationships, whether platonic, business, or romantic, whatever it is, it's not about necessarily a consistent feel-good feeling they give you. It's about the impact that they have in your life and the positivity and the changes that could come from that. And change can be uncomfortable. So sometimes somebody might come in your life that is not going to cater necessarily to where you're at. So you might feel a little bit uncomfortable by maybe their opinions or their thought process. But in the long run, as long as they're not being disrespectful, in the long run, you realize that, okay, maybe everything that I've learned from this person has actually helped me. It may not have come in the package that I thought. We all have friends that maybe we grew up with and we're so different, but we keep them there out of obligation. Or other times where a new person comes in and you feel like they're just like you, or, oh, they're so amazing and they make me feel great. But really, in essence, it's that initial spark, that attraction, that connection, that's temporary. That's always temporary. So for me to give somebody advice is, how do you recognize that? Like you kind of recognize how you walk along that path in the long term. It takes at least a year. I tell everybody, it takes at least a year to get to even know somebody. You can't know somebody in 2 months. Like, I don't care how good you felt in those 2 months. That's just the beginning, the introduction, or like even 6 months. Like it takes a while. And you will see usually around the 6-month mark is when like little things start getting annoying, because you start to recognize different mannerisms about the person or the way they do things that you're like, oh, I don't really like that too much. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's business or like anything else. 6 to 12 months, you actually get to know who they are. And then that's when the acceptance comes in. Like you accept people as they are and choose to keep them because they're beneficial for your path, or to, step away from them because they're not. And that takes time. So for you to know if somebody's a good person, you don't know right away. There's no magical sign that says, yeah, your intuition will tell you. Your intuition might tell you, but your intuition can not be your intuition. And I'll explain that. So depending on where you're at in your journey, sometimes like a lot of us are dealing with anxiety, stress, PTSD, like things that have happened, within our lives and ourselves. So we're a little bit out of touch with that sense of guidance and peace that comes within. And I speak from experience. Okay, so I've been out of touch with it as well. So what I believe to be is my intuition is more my fear or my core need to belong. So the core need to belong may have attached me to the wrong people many times because I felt that initially this was great. This was a great connection and it just feels good, right? And my intuition wouldn't guide me in the wrong direction. Well, what I have come to learn since then is that my intuition wasn't really there. It was more the what was covering it, which was, the fear of abandonment, the lack of connection, the need for acceptance. And so maybe I latched onto the wrong people because of that. So that wasn't necessarily my intuition. Now I can totally see clearly why I attached myself to certain people in the past, why why I went down the wrong path with them. So, but that takes time. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes you actually asking yourself the right questions. So to know if somebody's a good person, eventually you do learn to trust yourself. I feel like I'm there. I feel like I can tell, but it's not something I can give you and say, yeah, this is what you do to know if somebody's a good person. And then because people lie and people lie extremely well. And not only do they lie with their word, but with their actions, with their mannerisms, with their circles, with their network, with their life, with their work. So and sometimes not even intentional. There's one thing about people who lie intentionally, but there's others who lie unintentionally. And you don't know what is 100% true when somebody's presenting it to you right there. It takes time. It takes consistency. I always talk about building a brand, and how people buy from people they trust. But the same thing goes when you're building personal connections. Like it takes time to really know if this is somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can grow with, because that's the key, right? I heard something today and it really, really resonated with me. And it was basically saying that people who are exceptional and who stand out, they have a positive impact on other people's lives. And that's how you can tell if you want to keep somebody in your life. But that doesn't usually happen after one conversation. Like, sure, you can feel like you can understand, I get what they're saying. Because I do it all the time. I look at YouTube, never seen this person in my life. And I'm like, I love that. That's amazing, But I don't know what happened before or after. Just like that 1 minute that I heard, yes, it's great. But it takes a lot more than that to build a relationship, to see if somebody is good in your life or not. So I guess my best advice after saying all that is take time. Take the time to know somebody. Don't jump all in. Don't, and I don't like testing people. Like people say that all the time. I hear all the time. It drives me crazy. Test them. Like I'm not doing that to another human being. Like to me, it's just, I'm going to live life. And then if they show me at any particular moment that that keeping them around will be harmful to me or my family, or disrespectful to me or my family, or shady. Like if they show me, or untrustworthy, if they show me that clearly, then I just step away. I don't even need to say anything negative or even say anything about the individual. I just walk away and say, okay, I'm going to continue on my path without them. But that usually takes time. I've never encountered one person in my entire life that, I knew from that second that they were like an amazing person. Like I could have a hunch, and to me now I'm right, but I've been wrong many times in my life, especially when I was younger and still, dealing with a lot of issues within myself. So I don't think anybody's inherently bad. I don't. I'm not saying everybody's inherently good either, but we all have a path or paths. We all have a purpose. We all have goals, and it's our path. What we are aligned with will determine the type of people that we align and attach and connect to. So my best advice, if you want good people around you, is to be aligned with what you want for your life, and the people that are on that same path will be aligned with that as well. And then once you're there with them, take the time to develop the relationship so it actually blossoms, grows those roots slowly, water it, like nothing grows overnight, and neither do friendships, relationships, whether it's platonic, business, or romantic.